Charlie is being restrained while an unknown militia officer prepares to put a hot iron stamp with the militia M. Flashback to 2 days ago. Charlie and the gang notice a militia wagon carrying a teenage prisoner. Later on, she sees a kid lying unconscious in the middle of the road. When Charlie approaches to help, the kid jumps up and runs off. Several other kids pop out of the woods with arrows and bows. Their leader is 14-year-old Michael, who demands to know where they have taken his brother Peter. He then asks one of the kids to check if Charlie and the group have burn marks. When Miles asks where the kids' parents are, Michael says that they don't have any. He then explains that a long time ago, the parents hid the kids in a basement when men with burn marks came to kill their parents because of their ragged American flag. Charlie realizes that the men with burn marks are militia soldiers, so she promises to get Peter back. Telling Michael to stay put, Charlie and the group follow the tracks of the militia wagon from earlier. In Philadelphia, Monroe and Tom are upset that they cannot find a single pendant, although Rachel has given the addresses of her former colleagues. They, however, have a hold of a Dr. Bradley Jaff, who has been in custody for 3 weeks. Realizing that Tom has been torturing Bradley in hopes of locating his pendant, Rachel wants to talk to him. Rachel then flashes back to 3 years before the blackout, when she was pregnant with Danny. In Rachel's lab, which she shares with Ben, Dr. Bradley Jaff and Grace then explains a project that they have been working on to Assistant Defense Secretary Flynn from the Department of Defense, short for DOD. The project generates clean, low-cost electricity but has failed. Instead of generating electricity, Ben and the team have succeeded in inhibiting electricity. Meanwhile, Rachel isn't happy that Ben has shared the project with Flynn. She is scared that DOD will use their finding as a weapon. But since Ben wants to save the company, he insists on making a deal with Flynn. Elsewhere in the woods, Miles and the group continue to follow the tracks. Suddenly, Miles hears a twig snap, and within seconds, he pulls Michael out of the bushes. Michael wants to join and is just like Charlie. There is no way he wouldn't go after his brother. When Charlie hesitatingly consents to let him stay, Michael whistles, bringing 3 more orphans along with him. Meanwhile, the wagon containing Peter pulls up at a camp on a river bank, where a ship is anchored offshore. On the other side of the river, when Miles and the gang stop for water, he identifies the ship as a conscription facility, also known as a soldier factory. Kids are taken there and rebranded as soldiers when they come out. The group hides in a lighthouse nearby. In Philadelphia, Rachel sits in a prison and flashes back to 3 years before the blackout, when she and Ben learn that her unborn son is missing a blood vessel that helps pump blood to the lungs. It's doubtful their son will survive. Just then, a prisoner who turns out to be Dr. Bradley Jaff is dragged into a cell next door. Bradley cannot believe Rachel is still alive. Rachel immediately asks him about his pendant, but the doctor is quick enough to realize that she has been confiding information to Monroe, so he isn't not going to say anything. In the next scene, Charlie wants to board the freighter and rescue Peter. Miles tells her that she has to get a master key to make her plan work. Later that night at dusk, Charlie sits alone by a campfire when Peter's captors drive by in a militia wagon. It's not long before they knock her out and take her into custody. Back in Independence Hall, Philadelphia, Bradley is taken to Rachel's room. Rachel explains that she only revealed information about pendants to Monroe as he was threatening to torture her son. That's when a guard brings in Jaff's daughter Eve, causing Bradley to scream in horror. Monroe is going to torture Eve for getting out information from Bradley. Bradley immediately assumes it's all Rachel's fault, but she insists she didn't know. Meanwhile, Charlie gets recruited as a militia soldier, and she and Peter stand with other fresh recruits before Lieutenant Slotnick, who welcomes them to the militia. When the recruiters are taken to their decks, Charlie picks a fight with a fellow recruit, making sure that Slotnick is watching her. Back on the freighter, Charlie goes to the infirmary to patch up her wounds from the fight earlier. Noticing the key ring hanging on the medic's belt, she knocks him down. Just before she can leave with the key ring, Slotnick catches her at the door. Since Charlie is 2 hours late, Miles is anxious, so he and Nora head for the freighter, leaving Michael and the other kids with Aaron. Then we return to the first scene of the episode. Slotnick smiles devilishly as he stamps the M brand into Charlie's wrist. After that, Charlie is locked in a cell, while Miles and Nora sword fight their way below decks, looking for Charlie. Back at the lighthouse, Aaron learns that Michael is missing, and hears footsteps on the floor above them. He and the kids are quick to hide as the militia searches the building. Suddenly, Aaron's pendant activates, and the lighthouse regains its electricity. In a matter of seconds, the giant light turns on. Back at the freighter, Miles and Nora reunite with Charlie and manage to free Peter as well. But as they are just leaving, Slotnick shows up, his knife to Michael's neck. Suddenly, the freighter is engulfed in the lighthouse's blinding light. Everyone is shocked to see the light, and Miles uses this opportunity to attack and kill Slotnick, and free Michael and the fresh recruits. Back at the lighthouse, the pendant's light goes out, taking the lighthouse's power with it. Meanwhile, Rachel flashes back to the time when Flynn approaches her outside her office building. He learned about Rachel's unborn son's problem, so he has arranged for a spot in the now full fetoscopic trial at Columbia to give her baby a fighting chance. Rachel knows that Flynn wants something valuable in return for his generous offer, but he wouldn't say what it is at the moment. Back at present, Aaron and the kids reunite with Miles and the group. The kids are overjoyed to see Peter back. However, Miles wants to know about the electricity that powered the lighthouse. Aaron is hesitant at first but eventually explains about the pendant. Miles is furious that Aaron never said anything about it. Just then Charlie intervenes, demanding to know what happened with the lighthouse. Aaron shows her the pendant and explains that it was given to him by her father. He was instructed to give it to a woman named Grace, but he never found her. In the following scene, we see that Flynn has Grace locked in a cell. When she asks to be let free, Flynn reminds her they both know that can't happen as it's too dangerous. 290 miles from Monroe's headquarters, Charlie and the group are trying to cross a bridge guarded by the militia. The group is attacked as the militia soldiers start shooting machine guns at them. Thankfully, no one gets hit. Miles realizes that Sergeant Strasser is behind it. He tells the group that Strasser is ruthless when it comes to his enemies. Meanwhile, one of Strasser's men reports to him that they lost Miles and the group. In a fit of rage, Strasser brutally kills the man. The militia then starts calling out to Nora over a loud mic, revealing that they have captured her sister, Mia. A flashback to 2 months after the blackout shows Nora and Mia hiding under a bed as some looters come through the house. Later, Nora finds her mother dead. At present, Strasser continues to threaten Nora, and if they hand over the power pendant and Miles, he will let go of Mia. Miles doesn't want to hand over the pendant whatsoever, so he tries to destroy it. But the pendant does not have a scratch. At Monroe's headquarters in Philadelphia, Tom learns that Monroe ordered his men to torture Nate. Tom then goes to Monroe and asks what his son did. He learns that Nate tried to spy on Strasser as he has feelings for Charlie and does not want Strasser to kill her. Monroe tells him that he is going to send Nate on a diplomatic mission to California through very dangerous territory. If he doesn't comply, Monroe is going to execute Nate for treason. Thanks to Nora's expertise with explosives, Charlie and the team take out some of Strasser's men. During the explosion, Mia runs off and reunites with her sister. After getting away from Strasser, Mia says she knows a man who can help them cross a river so that they can get to Philadelphia. A while later, Mia has a private chat with her sister. She wants Nora to come with her to Texas so that they can live with their father there. But Nora wants to help Charlie to get Danny back from Philadelphia. Mia scoffs at her and says doing so is a suicide mission. Miles interrupts their conversation and urges the group to move forward. When they arrive at a river bank, they realize that Strasser has already gotten there and killed the man who was going to help them. Meanwhile, Tom learns from his wife Julia that the son of one of Monroe's top aides, Colonel Faber, has joined the rebels, a resistance group against the Monroe Republic. Julia wants Tom to use this insight to convince Monroe to save their son from the California trip. At the river crossing, Charlie overhears Mia convincing Nora to come with her. She then tells Nora to go with Mia to find their father. Nora decides to leave, and before she leaves, she gives a passionate kiss to Miles. Back in Philadelphia, Tom reports about Colonel Faber. Monroe investigated the allegations against him and they were true. He has Faber tortured in a cell and killed his resistance son. Monroe then decides to cancel Nate's dangerous trip to California in exchange for Tom's honesty. Mia and Nora are heading for Texas when suddenly, Strasser appears. It turns out that Mia has been working with him the whole time. She also stole the pendant from Aaron and gave it to Strasser. In exchange for her favor, Strasser lets the two sisters go free. After Strasser and his men head out to find Miles and the others, Mia admits that she had been working as a bounty hunter for Monroe. Living with their dad as a family again was all a ruse to trick Nora. Learning this, Nora is fumed and asks her to never follow her. She then runs off to get back to Miles and the others. In the woods, Aaron finally realizes that his pendant is gone. Just then, Strasser and his men arrive and start shooting at them. Miles reluctantly surrenders to Strasser. Meanwhile, Nora sneaks up from behind and kills one of Strasser's men. She then gets a hold of his gun and opens fire on the militia, killing a few men. Miles and Strasser get into a fight, but when more militia soldiers come in, Miles and the group don't have a choice but to run. The group finds themselves at the edge of a raging river and immediately jumps in to save themselves. Strasser goes back to Philadelphia and hands over the pendant to Monroe. Monroe then goes to visit Rachel, who is working on a machine. He gives her the pendant and says that she now has everything she needs. In the next scene, we see Flynn and his captive, Grace. Flynn has learned that Ben's pendant is now in Philadelphia with Monroe. He tracks it through a giant electric map which seems to be tracking the locations of all the missing pendants. At this moment, we learn that Flynn and Grace are holed up in a giant power plant. Next, Miles is held captive by the rebels because of his former affiliation with Monroe. The rebel members Colonel Starkey and Sergeant Wheatley have a hard time trusting Miles. Miles wants to work together to put an end to the Monroe Republic, explaining that Monroe has his nephew Danny as a captive. After convincing them he's somewhat trustworthy, Miles and the others work to join forces with the rebel army to break into Monroe's lair in Philadelphia. Miles knows a secret path, which is through a train tunnel filled with booby traps. The following day, the combined group walks through the tunnel, but they are in a predicament when Charlie steps into a field of landmines. Meanwhile, Rachel is working on a machine to amplify the power of the pendant. Tom interrupts her and introduces her to Captain Burke. He wants to know how the machine works. Rachel explains that each pendant gets every device to power up within a range of 9 to 10 feet, but with the amplifier, it gets every device to power up within half a mile. This means powering up vehicles and missiles to kill thousands of people. Back at the tunnel, Nora thankfully takes care of the mine, but ends up exploding their entry point of the tunnel. After safely passing the danger, the group moves on. Along the way, Miles spots someone, but when he sneaks up to check in the corner, there is nobody. Soon after, Nora thinks she is attacked by an alligator that also doesn't exist. Aaron realizes that the blockage of the entry point has sealed off the oxygen, and Miles and Nora are actually hallucinating. The group arrives at the exit, only to discover that the militia had sealed it some time ago. Devastated, they look for another exit. After walking for a while, Wheatley finds an exit, but seconds later when he opens the door, he opens fire and kills the 2 of the rebels. Charlie, Aaron, and Nora manage to dodge the fire but get trapped in the tunnel. It turns out Wheatley is an undercover militia agent and takes Miles captive to return him to Monroe. Through their combined efforts, Charlie and the team escape the trap and follow Wheatley and Miles. Wheatley spots Charlie and shoots her in the arms, but not before she puts an arrow in his chest. Because of her wounds, Charlie falls unconscious. Miles tries desperately to wake his niece. A while later, Charlie regains consciousness. Once she is back on her saddle, the group moves forward and soon reaches a door. At Philadelphia, Monroe wants to confirm the amplifier machine Rachel is building since he doesn't trust her. He brings in her old colleague, Dr. Bradley Jaff, to assess the amplifier, which is revealed to be a bomb. Betrayed, Monroe threatens he will kill Danny and dispose of her as he doesn't need her anymore. She can be replaced by Bradley. When Monroe orders his men to take Rachel, she immediately grabs a screwdriver and stabs Bradley, killing him. This act ensures that she and Danny will have a chance at survival since Monroe will need her to build the amplifier. Subscribe to see more videos like this, turn on the notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.